Hey, and welcome to another exciting episode of Multiply Your Money. This is episode number 16. My name's Andrew Priestley, and I wrote a book called The Money Chimp. And I know if you're a regular here, you know I wrote a book called The Money Chimp. Did I tell you I wrote a book? Yeah, well, here it is. It's called The Money Chimp. Spend less, save more, get out of debt faster. And basically what I did was I read, over a couple of years, I read over 140 books. I did 43 courses. I looked at over 300 websites, hundreds of websites, and I was looking for what were the patterns, and importantly, what were the strategies and the steps and the tools that make somebody good at managing their money. Because I'm good at managing my money, and I wrote a list of what I think I was doing well, but I want to know what the experts were saying. So I immersed in the content, right? And essentially, there's a lot of ideas, but they really cluster around 10 key things, right? And so this is just as a bit of a warm-up to this, right? So the 10 habits, the 10 things you can do with money is earn, spend, save, invest, and give, right? Earn, spend, save, invest, and give. And the 10 skills for managing your money are monitoring, so, pay attention to what you're doing with your money, focusing, setting targets and goals, reduce your spending, okay, so you're sort of trimming out extraneous expenditure, developing your financial smarts, which is all about financial literacy, and then taking action. Okay, and those were the 10 things. Now, of all the books that I read, there's lots of them, right? All of those things are out there, but not all in one book. So I believe The Money Chimp has got all of those 10 things in the one book. So there's those 10 big skills. Okay, and so you've got the intellectual stuff, right? So this is stuff for your head. Oh yeah, I know. What are the facts? What's the information? And that was me, right? But I'm having a really nice cup of coffee, by the way. But this is the thing that I found when I was going out and I was talking to business owners. Firstly, they were telling me that they're dealing with money all day, every day, but they're rubbish at managing money, and not only business money, but their own personal finances. Or they said that they had staff that they were really worried about because they're always hitting them up for pay rises and stuff like that, and their staff were typically in a cycle of having more month than money, so they're running out of money, right? And they said, "How can we, what can we do?" And that got me thinking about writing down this information. But that's all about up here. Now, this is the point: is I can tell you what needs to happen, and I can tell you how you need to go about it. But here's the question, right? I deal with a lot of really incredibly smart people who know what to do and they know how to do it, but they don't do it. And so I was intrigued by that. And the reason I'm intrigued is because I trained, qualified in industrial organisational psychology, and so in addition to looking at money books, I trawled back through my applied psychology books, and I actually majored in abnormal psychology, and this is one of my favourite books. It's just, look at this. I really love this course, because, I was going through and looking at amazing stuff. So, I'm looking at abnormal psychology. So I'm going through all that sort of stuff there, thinking, okay, why is it that people don't do what they want to do, particularly around money? But this applies to anything. It could apply to health, it could apply to money, relationships, whatever, right? And basically, if I go back through all of the money books that I read, and if I go back through all the psychology books that I read, right? So I'm looking at psychological health books, right? This is the great thing about living in the country: tractors, okay? And that's a big tractor. Boy, oh boy, look at that. Oh, man, that's a big tractor. And another one. There's another tractor, okay? So it's rush hour on tractor time here. So if I go back through all the books, okay, particularly around money, right? If I could give you if I could give you just one thing that jumps out at me, right, it basically is, this is what has to happen if you want to be really good at managing your money. Okay? You've just got to grow up. Right? Now, that is pretty harsh, isn't it, right? Just grow up around your money. I mean, I see really smart people do dumb stuff. They go like kids. You know, like somebody said to me once, if you've got children, would you let your kids drive your car, right? No, driving a car is grown-ups work. When I go with my grandson to the park and he says, "Grandpa, I want an ice cream," and he's only little and he doesn't fully get the concept of money just yet. I say, "No, Grandpa's got it. Grandpa's got it," right? So the twist that I want to put on this is, it's not just the harsh thing about grow up, but managing money is grown-ups work, right? It's not kids' work. It's grown-ups work. And see, when I talk to a lot of professionals, what I hear is they approach the whole money topic like they were kids, in a very childish, immature way, right? Very childish, immature way. So again, I'm drawing on, my training in industrial organisational psychology, and I was particularly interested in, my focus when I did this was abnormal psychology, right? High dysfunction, right? And the one thing I can tell you is, I don't care what the problem is, right? You've got choices and you've got decisions around the issue that you're dealing with. By the way, none of what I'm telling you right now is in this book. This is extra to the book, right? But I touch on it in this, but I'm just filling this out a little bit on the video thing. But again, if I'm looking at what the psychology books are telling me, because I read a lot of books on, personal development, on psychology and that, on money. Really, there are four key areas of focus if you want to improve anything, right? And one of them is, it's grown-ups work. It's acknowledging that. So what exactly are grown-ups doing? And grown-ups basically have these four things happening around. There's a maturity about what they're doing. They're decisive. There's a consistency, and that comes from a place of strength, right? See, managing your money, it is grown-ups work, but what are grown-ups doing? Well, there's a maturity about it. And part of that maturity, when I listen to people talking about money, they say, "I'm no good with money, I'm no good with money," and, I was never good with money growing up. And really what they're saying is, here I am right now, I'm no good with money, and they don't even want to think about what the ideal might look like. And if they start thinking about what ideally should happen, they go straight back to the past where they say, "I was no good with money," right? And so therefore, that's their get out of jail free card. Therefore, if I'm no good with money, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about being good with money. But see, what's lacking from that discussion, is a mature regard for what do you want, for the ideal, maturity. And there's a lack of that decisiveness, right? And there's a lack of consistency there, right? And it's not coming from a place of strength. These really are really robust ways of dealing with life. Particularly, I looked at people at their worst, abnormal psychology, right? I looked at people at their worst levels and what were they doing. And more often than not, and I'm leaving aside here clinical issues where, there is a clinical issue that you've got, but I'm talking about performance issues where people know what they need to do but they're not doing it. And at the heart of it, what's often missing is a lack of maturity, a lack of decisiveness, a lack of consistency, and they're not coming from a place of strength. So firstly, I wrote a book which it ticks off those four areas of concern, right? Those four areas of focus. And I also then created the Multiply Your Money group, which there's one on LinkedIn, there's one on Facebook. Just go search for it and you'll find it. And I think I might even put the link down below. And you can also listen to what I'm talking about here on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts if you search for Multiply Your Money. Okay, so I just wanted to cover this little session because I noticed that as I move forward, I'm giving more and more content. I'm giving more content up here, but for a lot of you don't need more content. You already know what you should be doing, right? But firstly, it's where am I now with my money? Where would I like to be? Right, so you're making that transition from where I am now to where I would like to be, right? And so focus on the ideal of what you want, rather than compare yourself with other people. Focus on the ideal, and in fact, all of my training says, if you really want to get great breakthroughs with people, help people focus on how they ideally want to be, right? And move towards the ideal. And you've got to say, what does good look like? What does good look like? But you need a solid grounding in things that are going to move you forward. And so if we accept the fact that managing your money is grown-ups work, right? It's not kids' work, it's grown-ups work, right? Then what goes with that is a decision and a choice about maturity, decisiveness, consistency, and strength. And I'll elaborate a little bit further. I don't want to get too far away from the content of the book because some people are buying the book and they're following along with this. So I'm going to try and stick to this as much as possible. But every now and then I'm going to drop a little bit of this content in there. But what I want you to do is just think about that. Think about that. Re-watch this a few times. Okay? Hope that helps. See ya.